Well, they're upset. They're pissed off that the Melania movie is doing as well as it is, folks. And trust me, these folks are desperately envious about this. Melania, by the way, the movie earned $8 million in its opening weekend. And that's the best documentary debut in over 10 years. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, welcome to the program. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. And of course, find the What's Right Show wherever you get your podcasts. Click to subscribe. Make sure you're getting updates. We're going to have some important interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks, and that's bonus material. So be sure you've got the inside scoop for all of that happening. All right, yeah, the movie. Again, think of yourself. Imagine you're a leftist. Imagine everywhere you look, you see signs of Trump's success, which by definition is like your kryptonite, right? It is salt on a snail. You are beside yourself. You're so upset that Trump continues to barrel ahead and be so successful. So what are you left with? You're left with, dissing his wife and pissed off that how dare she put together a movie to make herself look good. When, by the way, when Obama was president, we had Obama and they did all these glowing, write-ups and movies and documentaries about Michelle Obama, and they were shoving that bitch down our throats left and right. It was insufferable, right? And the same, and Dr. Jill Biden, give me a break. How many times do we have to listen to Dr. Jill Biden? So a Trump ally puts together, self-funds a documentary that dares show Melania in a good light, and all hell breaks loose. All right. Snide people on the internet going, well, I heard that until I hear little Baron, who, by the way, is not as little as he once was, not speaking in a Slovenian accent, until I've got him on tape, I don't want to hear anything of it. By the way, isn't it funny how the same people that love immigrants all the time suddenly hate immigrants when it comes to Melania? She's too legal. Anyway, it's desperation, folks. That's all it is. It's total desperation. Just a sign of massive desperation. Okay. What's going on out there? What is going on? Let's see. Number 5, obviously the Melania movie. I just talked about that. Dispense with that. Number 4, Taylor Remmett is a Democrat who won a traditionally Republican district. This is a state Senate district. News spread of this over the weekend. Everybody's got going up in arms about this. This is a district that Trump won by 17 points. 17 points in 2024. And the seat went blue for the first time since 1992, and everybody's freaking out about this. Guess what was the turnout? The turnout in the election was 15% of registered voters. So that's that's the story, right? I mean, and incidentally, the midterms are going to be driven, folks, so massively by turnout. It's going to hinge completely on turnout. Because when Trump is at the top of the ticket, that is a draw, and Republicans went out and independents went out and they supported Trump, and it got down ballot action for Republicans. No question about it. I saw somebody, it's funny how people do not understand statistics. I saw somewhere a chart showing that this win for the Democrats spells basically the end for Republicans writ large, because there were, it showed in basically that there were most independents and some Republicans, based on the way that the chart was written, had gone for the Democrat. and I was laughing because all it would take is for I don't know, 40%, 30%, 25% more Republicans to show up, and this guy would have easily, a Republican would have easily won it. So the long story short, Republicans, if you want to win in the midterms in November of this year, show up to vote. Number 3, the Target protesters, they're now taking over the stores. They started with churches. They discovered the FACE Act makes that problematic. So now they are taking over Targets. Why Target? Some of you have emailed me about this. What gives? Well, Target is headquartered in Minneapolis. I didn't know that actually, but turns out it is. And but I guess they're mad that Target has been letting ICE use the bathrooms. That's right. They're letting the management of Target are letting the ICE folks use the bathroom and stage in their parking lots. Go figure. Number 2, top news going on right now. Epstein document dump over the weekend. 3 million pages of documents, more than 2,000 videos, and about 180,000 images from a federal investigation into Epstein. It's being described as the final major release. And I have a couple of fun discoveries here. Number 1, Epstein apparently was trying to get Michael Wolff to work with Ken Starr. Remember? Of Bill Clinton impeachment Hall of Fame. Ken Starr later became a law school dean, I believe, at Pepperdine, to work together to get Trump indicted. Michael Wolff is the liberal author and a biographer who's a close friend of Epstein. So he's trying to get these two guys to work together to get Trump indicted when Trump was in his first term in office. Not exactly the thing you do when you're buddy with somebody. I think it establishes again that that Epstein and Trump had a falling out, as I've mentioned many times here on this program. There also were several photos. I don't know if you saw this, but kind of weird. They appear to be authentic, that show Epstein and Mama Madani. That's right, the mother of the future mayor of New York, Zohran. Now, he's a little tyke in these pics. There's no suggestions of impropriety. It's given Epstein's problematic relationship with young people, but anyway, apparently there was a very close relationship with the mother. So fascinating stuff. And in number 1, this to me, this is so exciting, and I have to tell you this, and a lot of people are not talking about this yet, but I think it's the number 1 thing to keep an eye on. And that is that Nick Shirley, the guy that deployed to Minnesota, that went there just as the first hint of fraud allegations were coming out, went out, documented, videoed all the different, leering centers and child care facilities that were boarded up and had nobody in them, yet were collecting millions of dollars in state support. Nick Shirley has landed in California. That's right. The Golden State has Nick Shirley on the ground, his team ready to go. And I say, bring it on. This is fantastic news. This is absolutely super stuff. I think he's going to have his hands full. No question about it. Now, I saw over the weekend a lot of tweets and other social media posts coming out from Gavin Newsom, the guy who wants to be president, the future Democratic nominee if he gets his way in 2028, and none of them acknowledged really any of this about Shirley, being there to investigate his state. I predict you're going to see the authorities, the police, state police and local cops in cities like LA, for example. They're going to go out of their way to frustrate Nick Shirley's efforts. You'll see organized harassment. And yeah, I was watching a scene of a protest, one of many taking place against ICE in this country right now. And I saw some of the, they're so well organized now. You know, they're actually taking the citizen journalists, the Nick Shirleys who've got, you know, one guy, two guy have a camera, and they're trying to document what's going on. And they're forming, the protesters are forming perimeters around the protests. Have you seen this? They got there and they say, you're not authorized to be here. But the protest is in a public square. And the guy goes, well, I'm a journalist. And the guy goes, oh, well, that doesn't matter. You're not authorized to be here. I'm actually handling security. The guy goes, well, what do you mean? Police authorize you to exclude me from this public event? And the guy goes, oh, well, no, I don't have police authorization. I'm just telling you can't go here. And they're physically blocking him. Now, this is, folks, I know, I saw it. Even the Levin guy from TMZ, who I think ought to know better, has come to the defense of Don Lemon. And so this drama with Don Lemon continues. But I'm bringing up this thing that I'm seeing repeatedly now, and you're going to see it with Nick Shirley as he tries to investigate California, where they're going to say that this, you know, citizen journalist X, whether it's Nick Shirley or somebody else, cannot go and film, cannot go and interview in a public place because people that are loyal to the regime, loyal to the Democratic Party, who are there to protect whatever shenanigans are going on, protest against ICE, whatever you call it, are looking to minimize the we'll call it the less than helpful things that are put on tape. That's what's going on. So let's just back up here and zoom out. Because I wanted to get into Don Lemon. Look at Don. The entire case with Don Lemon has nothing to do with his status as a journalist. I don't care. I want to make this abundantly clear. When you talk to people about this, it doesn't matter that Don Lemon is an independent journalist. It wouldn't matter if he was with CNN or the Washington Post or Don Lemon one-man band. That's not the operative issue. And I saw the Harvey Levin, he's the guy that founded TMZ, his just this, he got himself all worked up about Don Lemon over the weekend and was saying something to the effect of, you know, this is an assault on all journalists. I've covered riots. I've done this. You know, I can promise you this as a longtime observer of the phenomenon that is TMZ. And I have great respect for the guys over there because they did create something on the media landscape that really took fire, that has been very successful. I can guarantee you that Levin at no point ever set himself up with the instigators of a riot, surveyed their plans ahead of time, then went with them along the way, and then participated in illegal and unconstitutional entry of a prohibited space. Like I don't think it's literally not, it's not defensible. And the same people that are screaming about Don Lemon are going and excluding actual people, doesn't matter again if they're journalists or not, from being in a public place. These are the same people that are following citizens, thinking that they're ICE. They're using police tactics to intimidate ordinary Americans. They're, I think, actually, in some cases, engaging in kidnapping. Okay. And that, like, you know, this is happening. This is happening. You know, you can convict somebody of kidnapping if the victim subjectively believes that they cannot leave. And you don't have to kidnap somebody, put them in a dungeon, right? You can just tell them they're not free to leave. And even if it's just a momentary time, right? If it just is, even a minute or less of time that transpires, it's still a kidnapping. I mean, I've played these clips of these ICE anti-ICE groups that are rolling up on private citizens, that are rolling up on them and are stopping them dead in their tracks and saying, hey, we need to figure out who you are. What's your name? No, you can't go. What's your name? Let me see your ID. Where do you live? I mean, these people ought to be, and again, if Minnesota and other states where this is happening actually enforce the law, these citizen revolutionaries, these commie pinkos out there running around doing this stuff would be charged. And that's what I'm seeing in this protest, is my point. Right? I'm seeing that in this protest. So I'm just bringing this up, folks, because the understanding of the law is so flawed. It's so flawed, and it bothers me. Again, back to the FACE Act. The FACE Act, which reasonable people now are reminding us that it was a compromise statute, that the Democrats wanted the FACE Act to be passed to protect access to abortions. And Republicans said, well, okay, if you want this, then we want protection for churches. and back then the Democrats were convinced there would never arise a situation where people would be so crazy to want to go and take over a church proceeding. So it was an easy give. That's the legislative history. It was an easy give. The Democrats said, okay, all right, well, okay, fine. We'll protect churches too. Flash forward to 2026, and all of a sudden it's an issue. Anyone who intimidates or interferes or attempts to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person lawfully exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. There is no journalist or citizen journalist exemption here. We go through the facts of it. Don Lemon participated, and he was well, I'm just here. I'm not with this group. But every little bit of evidence suggests something to the contrary. That's my point, and it's important to keep talking about this. And no, I disagree fundamentally with a lot of people out there who are very loudly demanding that or criticizing Trump that this was wasted political capital. Oh, I go after Don Lemon. Yeah, he screwed up. Yeah, he shouldn't have done it. Yeah, it's probably, a clean prosecution and all, but it's not worth your time. It's just a distraction. You're making a martyr out of him. No, I think we need to go back to law and order. I think law and order matters. Well, that's the honest truth. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break here at the just a pause, okay? And we'll be right back. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
I have a thought about Trump's indulgence of protesters, of the instigators, of these rioters, and how it actually might be part of a solid strategy. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Welcome, folks, to the What's Right show. So there's a tweet or Trump Truth, where Trump publicly shared what his instructions were to the Department of Homeland Security via its secretary, Kristi Noem. He said in this truth that under no circumstances are we going to participate in various poorly run Democrat cities with regards to protests and or riots unless and until they ask for help. Now, the predictable number of people always come up and say this is a capitulation. This is Trump sort of, saying, hey, I guess we're not going to go establish law and order. But I keep thinking about this all weekend. And one of my sort of overarching thoughts is, what happens if this is exactly the right move? What happens if we need to show a growing difference, a contrast between Democrat-run cities and the ones that have law and order? I mean, it's a fundamental thing. For example, this major storm that went through, I kept talking about it leading up to the event. Of course, it happened. There were obviously there were deaths. It was a terrible storm, and the storm has since passed. And this is a different kind of ice. Okay, it's a different kind of ice. The storm passed, and cities like New York and Washington, D.C. and Philly are just buried in ice and snow. And there's no salting. There's no, the plows are nowhere to be found. People are out there, their cars encased with ice. And I guess my point is this. To win politically, we have to convince the American public that there is a massive difference between a city, a state, a jurisdiction that is run by crazy leftists and ones that are run soundly. And you're not making the case to the Renee Goods and the Alex Preddies of the world. All right. No, not because they're dead, but because those are the people that are so crazy deranged that they will go out there and put themselves in harm's way, lay their lives down for the cause. I mean, those people, you're not going to reach them. Okay. But I'm talking about the independents. I'm talking about which I endearingly call it the flabby middle of our country, politically speaking. But these are good people who maybe aren't as acutely aware and can be persuaded emotionally a little bit. You've got to show the contrast between what it looks like to be a well-run jurisdiction, one that isn't. You can be a victim politically of your own success. I keep looking at this with these crime rates. This was my thought the other day, Robbie. I actually got worried about all these murders that aren't happening. And I said, gosh darn, here's what's going to happen. Take Gavin Newsom, for example. That mother effer has done precious nothing to make Californians safer. Like, we know this. Objectively, he hasn't. California is, voters there, by the way, had to pass an initiative that raised the felony thresholds for thefts, for example, to start to do something about crime that had run amok in the state. And Gavin Newsom has sabotaged it at every turn. And yet here Trump comes in, starts enforcing just immigration law. And lo and behold, you have results. The results are there are fewer people getting killed. And I know what's going to happen because, folks, I am all seeing. And what I know is going to happen is come 2028, that crazy guy, Gavin Newsom, is going to stand up there, wherever he is, telling his life story, his spiel, and he's going to be taking credit for the crime numbers, and it's none of his doing. And that's my worry. And so I read this directive that was intended to be very public and kind of nailing it as Trump does, just Martin Luther nailing this his latest edict to a proverbial door for all to see. And so he puts this up and I kind of see it. Let these states go and devolve into jurisdictions that are just run by these criminal miscreants. But the feds will step in to protect their own, number one. The feds will step in to continue the mission, which is good. And we will see a major difference of how things are rolling in a place like Minneapolis versus how they're rolling in a place like, let's say, Miami. Okay, I'll pick even a larger city, but that is reasonably well run. Although they've got a Democrat mayor now, they just voted somebody. We'll see how that goes for them down in Miami. Regardless, Florida, of course, law and order state. You can become a victim of your own success. People will forget how bad it was under Biden. People have short memories. It's wild. I'm convinced one of the top reasons Trump won is that people fundamentally understood that there was an invasion going on, that Biden and his Department of Homeland Security had opened the borders, and that neighborhoods across America were flooded by illegals, and people knew this, and no matter how hard. The team Biden people told us that there was nothing to see here and that the border was 100% secure. We all, and not just you and me, but people who are not politically knowledgeable and observant, knew that was nonsense because the reality on the ground was objectively different. And that's obviously was true for inflation too. There's no inflation. Janet Yellen, no inflation. Everything's good. Everything's good. Meanwhile, you go to the store and month over month, certainly quarter over quarter, the cost to buy the same groceries keeps rising. So, this is interesting. It's an interesting thing. So indulging the protesters, maybe. My concern, I'll tell you my only concern here. My concern is that these protesters not slow down the mission of removing the illegals. There's only so much time in the day. There's only so much time in a week, in a month, in a year, and there's only so many years left of Donaldus Maximus's time in office. I'm just saying. Our time with President Trump here is limited. We got 3 more years. And we got to get a lot done in that time. We have to act now in a way that will make it almost impossible for the Democrats to reverse this before the 2030 census. And that's the name of the game. Now, these protesters, folks, these protesters are crazy. They're crazy. And the more that you let them do crazy stuff, though, by the way, I like the Target one because they're not actually stopping any deportations, are they? They're not stopping any deportations. There's a lot of these videos circulating. This is my favorite one. I have to share it with you because, well, you're welcome.
We've been told as we've been coming to Target stores chatting with managers that this is open to the public, so that they actually can't take people out of the store because it's open to the public. So we really wanted to come today and use it as public space. That's what they told us it was. But when we came in and tried to sit down and hang out and use it as public space, as they told us that wasn't allowed. They said we have to be shopping. Well, first they told us we have to be standing. So we stood, and then they told us we have to be shopping. And so we said, doesn't seem like ICE comes in here and shops. Do you kick them out when they're not shopping at Target? How interesting. But it does seem like they want to take community out of Target.
Can you imagine? This lady is like, what are we doing wrong? We're just walking into a store and occupying it. What are we doing wrong? Now, why do I love this so much? Because maybe, just maybe, letting these people go and do this stuff is good. It's good. Not because, and by the way, side note, isn't Target, Target was doing stuff that was so woke for a while that we had a conversation at the Mirejovsky Casa that maybe Target would not be at the top of our shopping list anymore. They did all the trans stuff. Remember that? And then Target actually defended people stealing from their stores. So in a way, I'm pro-business, I'm pro-economy, I'm pro-law and order, I'm pro-respecting private property rights, all of that. But it sort of couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people, is my point, okay? And it's an important lesson for all you CEOs out there and business owners. You think that you're going to be woke and that the mob isn't going to come for you. You're nuts. What I tell you about communist agitators is they don't give a rat's rear end about your political alignment. When the time comes, when they've decided to make an example out of you, or you personally, your family, or your business, hasta la vista, you're done. But back to how this plays out, look at the average American and how they perceive this. See, my sense is that the average American goes, okay, I go to Target to go buy stuff. Like, ew, like imagine you have to go and get baby formula for your baby and you run into Target. You got to just get in and get out. And these unwashed losers have just decided to take the place over. No longer are the ICE protesters just going out there and taking numbers and following ICE officers around and getting themselves shot. I think they figured out that maybe ramming their cars or charging at cops while holding handguns, not the worst, not the best idea, might have some bad outcomes. So now they're taking over these stores and they're inconveniencing ordinary Americans. The more they do these things, I mean, forget the 100 people that are inconvenienced that day. The video makes the rounds. It gets put on the news. I share it here on this program. Everybody sees it. And people go, you know what? And slowly, two competing visions for the country start to arise, right? You have one where you've got these crazy, insane people who don't think that private property exists, that they can just set up shop at Target. And then on the other side is Donald Trump, who says, okay, well, I'm all for law and order. I mean, these states have to figure it out on their own, but we're here to protect federal agents. And good luck, Minnesota. Have at it. Those are competing visions for the country. And we have to tell a narrative going into the midterms. And it has to be, like, look, if you don't vote for Republicans, even though Republicans aren't perfect, even though Trump's not perfect, even though there's a lot of things over there that you might not like, what you're going to get is more of this. And keep pointing to all of this insanity that's happening, and happening primarily in blue cities. Now, there's another point here. And that, well, I know, people, and we're talking about the protesters here. We're talking about the people that are taking over the Target stores. Notice how I think there are way more people that go to Target than go to church, and why it's going to backfire for these protesters to go to Target and take over Target, where they're inconveniencing a whole lot of people from all walks of life, and not just conservative Christians. That's, that has to be mentioned. It's a factor. Oh boy, you see the teacher in New York. The teacher, and this is the problem, right? With indoctrination in our schools. This is the fundamental problem. Here is a teacher in New York. This is a school in the Bronx, I believe, and in Harlem, in Harlem, yes. And it's an academy. It's supposed to be kind of an elite school down there, a charter school. Anyway, this teacher, listen to what they're doing with the kids in the class. This is great.
My name is Dr. Canton. I am the director here at the Chloe Day School here in Harlem, New York. As today is a National Day of Protest, we decided in solidarity we would support all those who are out protesting against the violence that we see and the harm that we see happening to our friends. So some of our friends are going to share how they feel about what's happening and what they want to see happen in our government to change the harm that we see. So Sahad, how do you feel about what's happening?
I feel all of it.
Right, and how do you feel? What did you tell us earlier?
I feel angry.
Because you don't like to see what?
I don't like to see when people are hurt or taken away from their family.
Right, and so Isabel and Amadi, what do we want to say? Stop the
Hating.
right. Okay, and my last three, Faith, Mariama, and Raya, what do we want to tell people?
Enough is enough. Stop hurting people.
And what do we want to say as a school?
Enough is enough. Stop hurting people.
Okay, this is lovely. Says we talk about indoctrination. We talk about indoctrination. We talk about these teachers that instead of teaching grammar, math, history, are politicizing kids. And these kids look, I mean, these are 5-year-olds. This is what our public schools have devolved into. Now, I know and there's clips like this all over the country in the wake of these manifestations against ICE. But remember, where's this coming from? Remember that the teachers' unions are in the back pocket of the Democratic Party and vice versa. So the teachers' unions have put out a hit on Trump and are fueling this, but at the great expense of our kids. Here's a school in Oregon. Listen to this. They made signs for the kids. They're protesting against ICE, the little kids. Now, if you're watching the Sam Cam, the best part is on the other side of the screen. You can see the teachers in the school, and they all look like, well, they just look like perhaps they may be gender confused, some of these teachers. Well, it's just they obviously look like agitators. I mean, they look like libs. You know, one of my favorite memories from school, of course, is that my conservative teachers didn't ever talk about politics. Well, yeah, they were afraid of getting fired. No, my liberal, my conservative teachers never talked about it. They just wanted to teach the class, get in and get out. And, you know, and I was very politically aware in high school. And so I would find out that there was a teacher who was maybe a little bit conservative because I was, the Young Republicans Club, and we had an advisor who was conservative. And this teacher would tell us, on the down low, who the conservative teachers were, that there was basically some kind of a secret handshake, going on in the teacher's lounge. But when I'd find out that it was, I would have never known because the teacher just didn't talk about politics. It was always the liberals that had to go out and recruit kids. It was the liberals that had to go and engage in this kind of stuff. And it's, this is why education has to be reformed. And it's really important. It is actually, it's if you look at what the teachers unions have done to this country, you look at Randy Weingarten. I mean, that is totalitarian fascist level stuff if I've ever seen it. Indoctrinate the youth, train up the youth, make the youths your revolutionaries to keep the power in the hands of the few. Meaning, in this case, the people that benefit off the billions, if not actually in the aggregate trillions of dollars that flow from a system designed to work for them, not us. That's where we're at on this. So, yeah, I tell you, I'm obviously going to keep following this and going through it, but all right, well, we got to wrap it here. Don't worry, folks. Another hour of the What's Right show up next. Don't go anywhere. Got to talk about Florida. You hear how cold it got in Florida? You know, their iguanas are dropping from the trees. Crazy stuff. Sam Mirejovsky here. Great to be with you as always. The What's Right show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. Be sure to click to follow the podcast. We've got episodes, extra episodes, bonus material coming up. So make sure you have those alerts set to on. And of course, email me with questions, comments, concerns, sam@whatsrightshow.com. Yes, today is Groundhog Day. Good reminder. Puxatawny Phil came out of his hole and declared, no, there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Hey, it was so cold in Florida over the weekend that well, first of all, it was actually colder in South Florida than it was in Alaska. Juneau, Alaska was 2 degrees warmer, if you can believe this, than Tampa. So the problem they've got down there right now in Florida is they got these iguanas that are get so cold they basically seize up, they freeze, and they start dropping out of the trees. You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing with these iguanas? Don't tell the Haitians, okay? Well, listen, this was an actual TV report about a lady that is collecting these iguanas. You're never going to believe what they're doing with them. Play the tape.
Yes, this is Jessica. She is the iguana expert. She's picked up, she said, hundreds of pounds of iguanas this morning. This is crazy. I've honestly never seen anything like it. Jessica, tell us what is happening. Why are these iguanas frozen?
Right. Of course, iguanas are cold-blooded animals. So as soon as it gets to freezing, we end up having iguanas fall out the trees here in South Florida.
Okay, and like I said, you've picked up hundreds of pounds worth just this morning. You told me you started at 4. What do you do with them after you pick up all of these all around the city?
Well, of course, we contact our Trinidadian friends and all the people that like to eat iguanas. So a lot of different cultures eat iguanas, and they eat the eggs, and they eat the legs, and they eat the tail. So this is easy snacks falling out the trees this morning.
Easy snacks falling out of the tree, folks. Florida is a different place, no question about this. They're an invasive species. I mean, people don't really hear. If you don't live in Florida, you think of an iguana as an exotic pet. But there's so many of them, and apparently, I didn't know this. They burrow under houses. They'll burrow into the ground. They'll make tunnels, and they can completely rip up seawalls. For example, properties that are along the intercoastal or even on the water, beachfront homes can get absolutely destroyed by these things. So, yeah, when they're dropping from the sky, it's time to send them over to Trinidad. I guess in Trinidad they eat them. Presumably people eat them also in South Florida. Anyway, one heck of a story. Now, we have it confirmed now. Okay, perfect. We're going to have at the bottom of the hour Senator Carrie Buck, who's a state senator here in Nevada, who is running for Congress, joining us on the program. Great conservative lady. I love Carrie, and we'll have her on the program for an interview. It's interesting. I want to talk to as many conservatives throwing their hats into the race here for the midterms. These are names that are going to become potentially in these swing districts, like we have here in Nevada, are maybe going to become household names nationally. So I'm going to ask her. What's the strategy? What do you think about the midterms? What's your platform? How are you running? A lot of good questions. So email me, of course, if you've got anything you'd like me to ask Senator, maybe future Congresswoman Carrie Buck. Okay. I have to tell you, the indoctrination, talking about that here just at the bottom of last hour, the indoctrination of kids. you heard the big news story today. Well, it happened end of last week, but it's making the rounds today. Huge story. The first lawsuit win by a detransitioner, Fox Varian. Now, Varian is 22. Is considered a detransitioner. These are the people, these are kids that get railroaded into these trans surgeries. They get, they go to and this is what happened to her. Basically, got sent into a session with a psychologist, a child psychologist. The child psychologist fast-tracked an appointment with a surgeon, and the surgeon fast-tracked the procedure. And it's horrific stuff. Now, this a person identified as a boy in her teen years, okay? Now, when they talk about a boy just 16 years old getting a life-altering surgery, you can imagine what this consists of, and it's horrific. It's, well, the award was only $2 million. And this, not nearly enough is the answer. Absolutely not nearly enough. And I hope these cases, and I say this as a personal injury lawyer, I would love, Robbie, I cannot wait to get my hands on a few of these legitimate cases and fight this out with these people. They're the machine that fast-tracked these young persons, many as young as 9 and 10 and 11, and sent them through this horrific butchering. Young women just coming through puberty, getting double mastectomies, getting something. I was telling my kids about this, they're cringing. They don't want to even hear it. I said, can you imagine what a neophallus is or a neo-vagina? I don't want to get in graphic detail, but constructing these artificial body parts out of other parts of your body. Constant wound care, right? Where it never fully heals. In the case of a neo-vagina, you can't create that. That's something God creates. I mean, that's nature, and you're going against it. You're doing this. And again, if an adult person says, this is what I want for myself, great. But taking vulnerable young people and railroading them into this. And this, I think this is what bothers me so much about these teachers that are indoctrinating kids, because the teachers are culpable in this too. The schools are culpable. It's not just the doctors. It's not just the psychologists. You have these teachers who are praising and giving attention to brave young people in their class who've come out as trans. And what's the message? The message is if you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, if you want to be important, if you want to be validated at a time in your life when validation is very important, at a time in your life where, validation is something you seek out when you're 12, you're 13, etc. The reality is you're, a lot of these kids went along with it and did it precisely because they wanted to be seen. It's absolutely horrific. Now, let me explain something about the decision. Let me tell you, because this was a New York case. Most states have a cap on what you can recover under medical malpractice. And one of the things that I desperately would want to do with this litigation, once I get my hands on a couple of these cases, I think you've got to get it outside of the medical malpractice system. And I know I'm telling you, this is where we conservatives sometimes get things wrong. If you survey 10 out of 10 or 100 or 1,000 conservatives, and you say to them, should there be a cap on lawsuits? My suspicion is 90, 85% of them or so will say yes. If they're asked a question like, do you think medical costs are too high? And do you think that lawyers are to blame for this? Do you think that personal injury lawyers are to blame? And they'll say, yes, of course they are. And yes, of course they should be capped. But now you look at this, and if you read this case where this young teenager was sent off to have his penis removed, he'll never have a normal life. You're telling me that $2 million is adequate for that? Every person that participated in this ought to be financially ruined. These doctors, and this is how you put this kind of barbarity to rest, right? You bankrupt these people. I'm telling you, this to me, this just, I could not feel more strongly about it. All right, let me take a quick break. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. Just a reminder here at the bottom of the hour, Senator Carrie Buck will be with us, joining us live here on the What's Right show. All right, hang tight. Be right back.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Sam Mirejovsky here for Sam and Ash Injury Law. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. You know, it's called life. You're driving along, you get hurt, something happens, right? A simple accident. Next thing you know, you're buried in paperwork, phone calls, hassle, just a nightmare. And here's the thing: you've got to you try to handle it on your own, and then weeks and months go by. You finally get to what you think is the end of it. And you find out you're thousands of dollars in the hole. Don't be that person. Don't make that mistake that so many Americans make every day. Call Sam and Ash Injury Lawyers right away. Get some advice, maybe just some legal advice. Maybe you need help, or better yet, hand the case over, the claim over to Sam and Ash. Because what will happen is it's very simple. Your lawyer on your behalf is going to make sure that all your rights are protected and that you get what's right. It's not a lottery win. It's not an abuse of the system. It's just making sure that things are done correctly. It's very important. Plus, it saves you the time, the hassle. I talking to somebody the other day who was pissed that they'd been dealing with it just for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks of handling the claim, he said, constant phone calls. They were texting him at 8:00 at night. Okay, at one point on a Friday night, they were always asking for stuff to get signed and sent back. It was just a nightmare. He's like, I'm done, Sam. I'm calling you guys. You handle it. Sam and Ash Injury Law costs nothing out of your pocket. All right, fees get paid in the end by the insurance company through the settlement, and you still end up ahead. So it's that easy. 800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000. Call the number, quick, easy phone call, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Get the case handed over to Sam and Ash Law, and you're off to the races. You don't have to worry about anything. You can go on with your life. You go to work, take care of your kids, and let Sam and Ash do the rest. SamandAshLaw.com. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Now, folks, did you catch any of the Grammys? Because I didn't. The Grammys in LA, like I'm going to watch it. Just going through the clips is bad enough. I know, for every Nicki Minaj, by the way, Nicki Minaj turning out to be a very public Donald Trump fan, which just delights me in every way possible. Love it. So, for every Nicki Minaj, there are like 100 or 1,000 lobotomized idiots out there, right? And Billie Eilish, this was great. Billie Eilish gets up there And, well, she says this.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Look at all those retarded clapping seals.
And yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now. And I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And I say sorry.
That was F ice was what got bleeped out. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Can I break this down for you? You know what this is called? This is a Chinese style political sloganeering device. It's a brilliant device that became popular under Mao. It's called TIFA. Okay, that's a Chinese term that translates as slogans, literally. Okay, and it's a kind of political engineering. It's actually very sophisticated, but allows any idiot, including Billie Eilish, to manipulate, literally every person listening, because it's basically a thought terminating cliche. That's what Robert J. Lifton calls this, a psychologist from the middle of last century. Thought terminating cliches. They have the power to turn off your ability to think clearly about what's said and just go along with the message. Nobody is illegal on stolen land. Well, let's go through it, right? First of all, I mean, if you disagree with it, if you say, "What do you mean nobody's illegal?" Then all of a sudden you're in a place where you're stuck defending the concept that there are people that are illegal as a matter of their being, which of course is not the argument at all. No human being is illegal in the sense that everybody has a God-given right to exist, and you understand that particularly if you're imbued with any kind of Christian spirit or thinking, right? Culture. Every person has a right to exist, but countries have borders. And this idea that, I guess, I mean, where this gets really, really conniving, right? It just becomes all about emotion, right? There's basic human dignity on one hand, and then there's the question of your legal citizenship, which is a legal construct, not a humanistic one. Now, stolen land, they want to question every single border. These assholes do, right? Every single border gets questioned. Every single country gets questioned. And slogans can undo, literally, geopolitical, realities. Communists were always quite brilliant, but you see it out there in Hollywood. This is stuff, and people listening to this are is crazy. So I'm telling you what this is all about. That this is where it's gotten itself to. And the thing is I know I've had to talk to people like this and deal with them where they throw these things out, ridiculous statements of this kind. And of course if you start to logic through with people that have now formed nothing but a deep emotional attachment to a concept, it's very difficult. It's very difficult because it's easier to feel. We talk about this all the time on the program. It's easier to feel something, to be compassionate, to be understanding, because that feels good to be understanding. It feels good to be understanding. You don't have to think about a particular topic. And by the way, let's return back to gender affirming care. This is where TIFA, it came to gender affirming care, TIFA, and the slogan, like what are some slogans around gender affirming care? Well, the idea, gender affirming care in and of itself. You have to respect people for who they are. Now, if you respond and said, no, you don't, well, then all of a sudden you're an asshole for not respecting somebody for who they are, right? I mean, that's not a good thing to do. Respect somebody for who they are. As a consequence, we allowed a child mutilation pipeline to be built for our young people, to be a generation of young people scarred, of mutilated people that even if they didn't go through the surgery, who took the drugs, right, who took the puberty blockers and are will never have children, will never be normal, will die young in many cases. That's the consequence of this. When we feel and don't think, harm comes. Sam Mirejovsky here. We've got Carrie Ann Buck, senator from state senator here from Las Vegas, on next to talk about her race in District 1. Stay tuned. Hang tight. Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash, 800-304-2000, 800-304-2000, because you deserve what's right. Now, I have a good friend of mine here on the show with us today. Please welcome Nevada State Senator Carrie Ann Buck. Carrie, welcome to the What's Right show.
Thank you for having me today.
Well, listen, you're running for a new office, and have been in the news, have been garnering all sorts of attention, and every time I blink, you're raising more money. So tell everyone what you're up to.
Well, the momentum is there for sure, and the spotlight in that we are outraising an incumbent Democrat. Our campaign is the only one in the nation that outraised without significant self-funding. So I have over 7,500 individual donors that are really excited to get me elected and flip this seat to red.
Well, you're running against Dina Titus. And well, how many terms in office has Titus been in there? And there's quite a few, right?
Yeah, she's been in office in different offices since 1968. She's been in Congress, I believe, for the last 14 years. The district has moved, though, about 38% to our advantage. And we have, nearly half of the district is independents and nonpartisan. And we have Democrat Dina Titus that has done absolutely nothing for us in the past 14 years. And so we need somebody that's going to go and deliver for Nevadans.
Well, I agree on that. I mean, the entire time I've been in Nevada, I've seen Titus get elected and reelected, and every election. I want people. This is important. You know, there are these offices across the country, and this district, and tell everybody you're running for which district is this, and what parts of Las Vegas is your district?
So I'm running for Congressional District 1, and it is the bottom right quartile of Las Vegas. If you look at the map of Las Vegas, it's the bottom right quartile. It's Henderson, Nevada, and I've been serving for 30 years here in Henderson. It's also goes all the way up to Lake Mead, north, and then all the way over to the Strip. But I've been an educator serving this community for 30 years, and just breathing life into kids and families in the district. I took over one of the lowest performing schools in the state in 2006 and moved it to National Title I school. I won the Milken Award. It's like the award for educators. It's similar to the Oscars. And I also helped grow one of the charter schools from one school to now 8 schools across the state, but mainly in Congressional District 1. It's a public charter school, and it's really doing an amazing job. I flipped the Democrat seat then to Republican seat in 2020.
Well, I want to talk about that actually.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but like
That's
this is, to me, this is such an incredible highlight. People need to understand this. And again, zooming out a little bit here for folks that aren't in Las Vegas and are listening to us on the podcast, understand this. There are districts across this country that have been maybe even written off and are just been held by, Dems for a long time, where there are challengers like we have here with Carrie and Senator Buck, who have proven an ability to flip Democrat seats. So your current Senate seat, it was a squeaker. Okay, I remember this in 2020. It was a squeaker, but you got it across the finish line and you flipped a Senate district, which was, I think that was the only district that had flipped, certainly that election cycle. So really unprecedented. What was the secret? What did you do?
Well, in 2020, when we were knocking doors, yes, I flipped that seat. Biden won my seat by 8.5 points. And so how many?
Is that right?
Yeah.
8.5?
Biden won my
that
seat.
same election. Yeah. Biden won 8.5 and you beat the Democrat.
And
okay.
My secret is I've been serving in my community. I've been serving these children, families, charity work, and doing various things to, give my life to the constituents here in this district. And I think that just pays back rewards, right? I'm also, married to he was deputy chief of the Henderson Police Department. So I'm definitely a law and order candidate. And I think it's just hard work. It definitely makes a difference that you're able to raise money and that you're able to touch people in a way that really helps, helps them. I want to go fight for Nevadans. And I think that really resonated with people.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, by the way, again, if people are outside of Vegas, one thing to know is you do, those parts of Las Vegas are actually very conservative. A lot of family values, certainly pro law and order. Even among Democrats, it's a law and order a place. So I think you've got real potential here to do this. So let me ask you this: what's going to be the secret sauce in 2026 here with the midterms? Everybody is doing the tea leaves on this. How's this going to go? What's going to happen? How's it going to happen? And everything. And some people say it's big national issues. Other people say it's the local stuff that's going to move the needle. What's your sense on that?
Well, I'm the common sense candidate, and just that's what I want to do, and just be a reasonable candidate that takes issues and really fights for Nevadans. We have land issues, affordable housing issues. Being a mother, going to the grocery store and being able to feed my family, I resonate with that. I'm living that. I raised 4 boys, and 2 of them are in high school and middle school right now. And I tell you, it's those sorts of issues, things like no tax on tips, the child tax credit. All of those things are going to help Nevada families. And so we need to get the message out that we need to continue this, because I have yet to meet a Democrat who doesn't love taxes. I mean, look what's happening in New York, in Virginia. They want to tax dog walkers and tax gym memberships. And so I want to be the candidate that keeps money in Nevadans' pockets. And this being one of the races that is catching national attention, because we're going to be able to change it. I'm a battle-proven candidate. I have flipped seats, and then I outperformed in the last election. I outperformed every single Republican up and down the ballot. And so I know I can win this seat. People are just tired of Democrat Dina Titus, who has done absolutely nothing for us.
Okay, now we send you to Congress, right? I'm speaking now as a conservative, as a conservative first and a Republican second. We send you to Congress, and there's some big issues out there: immigration, law and order. All the stupid woke gender stuff. I mean, are you going to be a reliable vote for sanity in DC?
Well, Democrats have lied to us. All of them. They've said our borders were closed when anyone with eyeballs could see that they were wide open, that countries were unleashing all of their criminals and opening their jails. And then it overwhelmed our jails, our hospitals, our healthcare, our schools. And so first and foremost, we need to know, I want to be truth and light. I want to fight for Nevadans, for Americans, for American citizens. Being married to a law enforcement officer, I know the struggles that law enforcement officers go through. Here is the law. Lawmakers and law enforcement need to enforce it, or we need to change it. So I want to be a dependable vote for law enforcement, absolutely, and back all of law enforcement. And then because safe communities matter to me, I want everybody in my community to be safe. Violent crime is down under President Trump, and Governor Lombardo has done a great job being a sheriff and driving that down. Fentanyl deaths are down. We need to be celebrating these things and get the message out. Retail crimes down here in Nevada. So yes, I'm going to be a dependable vote when it comes to that. Another thing that's down, fuel costs are down, talking about affordability. However, we rely on Democrat California, and unfortunately, they are shutting down refineries and mandatory going to all green, even though they have rolling blackouts. Now, make that make sense. And so they're shutting down these refineries, which is going to drive up our fuel costs. So that is not the president's fault. That is Democrat Gavin Newsom's fault. And he's going after fuel because we have one pipeline in here. I need to work with people to look at federal solutions to this. We need to get our fuel from somewhere else and not be reliant on a Democrat state.
Yeah. Well, I think there are some federal solutions needed for that. And it would help if we had a delegation that was at least one person stronger with some common sense energy solutions. So I agree. I agree with you. We are underrepresented in Nevada.
Yes.
We have one common sense conservative that we've sent to Washington, and everybody else is a lobotomized idiot.
They all voted against no tax on tips. Now think about this.
It's shameful.
Is predominantly service industry, and so you are voting against these mothers that are out there being bartenders. These single mothers, you're voting against overtime, which impacts our police and fire because they're out there serving and then they go and do overtime. Social Security, our seniors. And so, yes, I want to be one that puts more money in Nevadans' pockets.
Ladies and gentlemen, that here right now is Carrie Ann Buck, Senator Carrie Ann Buck from Las Vegas, running in the Republican primary to become the nominee to then go head on against Dina Titus. And Carrie, we wish you well. I'm excited for this primary, and I hope you'll come back on the What's Right show and give us an update as we get closer.
Well, I'd love for all your viewers to definitely look me up, and I need support. I outraised Dina.
Where do we find you?
I outraised Dina Titus this last quarter, and I need to do it again because let me tell you, she's supported by Pelosi and Jeffries at nearly half of what she raised last quarter. So you can find me at carriebuckforcongress.com, and thank you so much. I'm going to be a fighter, and I appreciate you all.
You got it. Thank you and Godspeed. And appreciate you coming on the What's Right show with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Carrie Ann Buck, Senator state senator here in Las Vegas, Nevada. CarrieForCongress.com. Did I get that right?
CarrieBuckForCongress.com.
CarrieBuckForCongress.com.
Thank you, Sam.
You got it. Folks, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Sam Mirejovsky here, back behind the What's Right microphone. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. So that was Carrie Ann Buck, state senator. I tell you, the best part of the argument here for people like her, let me tell you, I think the best, most powerful argument that Carrie Ann Buck has for this race as a Republican is that she beat a Democrat in a Democrat district the same year that Biden was running against Trump in 2020. I mean, it's that kind of candidate can beat an incumbent Democrat in the midterms here in 2026. Just my opinion. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. The problem is, folks, this is why I ask, are you going to be a reliable conservative voice when you get to the House of Representatives? You've got people in the House and Senate that are Republicans that vote for liberal stuff all the time. Let me give you an example. This stuff just maddens me. By the way, welcome to the What's Right show. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. So this bugs me. Rand Paul here introduced legislation to stop welfare funding for non-citizens. This is a $5 billion cut in refugee welfare. On Friday, it went to the Senate floor. The amendment failed. 20 Republican senators, that's right, 20 Republican senators joined 47 Democrats to oppose it. So what is this all about? This bill introduced legislation right to cut the following benefits: SSI, okay, SNAP, WIC, Women, Infants, and Children Funding, HUD, public housing, emergency Medicaid, Affordable Care Act, subsidies, full scope Medicaid. We're giving this all away. And this, by the way, is we'll call this the carrot at the end of the stick that has been used by Democrats to lure all these people to the country in the first place. Biden flung the doors open, and then we were handing them out welfare willy-nilly. And it's frankly why we had as many people coming over here. These were people that were looking to participate in the American dream. These were people here that came out not with just one hand, but both hands and their mouths open, ready to get, the goodies. These are not the kind of immigrants that are going to build anything in America. These are the people that are going to bankrupt us. But, you got Billie Eilish saying, it's nobody's illegal on stolen land. So I guess, people can come here. Actually, the illegals are coming to our land to steal from us. I think that's the actual phrase. This is so maddening. Here's Rand Paul's remarks on the floor of the Senate.
A freelance journalist discovered recently that billions of dollars have been stolen from welfare programs in Minnesota. Congress didn't discover this theft. A member of the public did. How did Congress respond? Did Congress open an investigation? Did Congress claw back the money from Minnesota? No. Congress simply decided to give another $5 billion in refugee welfare. My amendment says stop. No more welfare for refugees until a nationwide investigation of the level of this fraud. No more welfare for refugees until Congress balances the budget. America can't be the world's sugar daddy when we can't even afford the welfare for our own citizens. So my amendment will remove from the bill a little over $5 billion from the refugee welfare programs.
Yeah, okay. Now, let me tell you, I still think that Rand Paul's a grandstanding fool, because notice what he is not able to do. Rand Paul can give a little speech. He's going to take the snippet. He's going to use it to run for re-election, to tout his conservative bona fides. But did he persuade 20? How many of his colleagues? 20, what was this? 20 Republicans went with Democrats. Did he persuade 18 of those 20 Republicans to join him on his amendment? See, this is another part of it. We've got a lot of grandstanding in Washington. When people that go to Washington, they go out there, they say, "Oh, I'm conservative." They never fight on anything that matters. They only put stuff out there that puts their name in the news. But they're not good at building any kind of consensus or getting anything done. They're not persuasive. They just go and do their own thing and beat their own little drum, and that's where I've got Rand Paul filed off. But this is what we want from our elected officials. If we're going to send Republicans to the House and to the Senate, then we want them to. We can't keep giving away our precious, deficit dollars, spending it on making this a more attractive country for broke people to come from around the world. Like, that's just not what we want to do. And the people that are, I'll die on this hill, the people who are most incensed about this are legal immigrants who did it the right way, who never took a handout, who slaved and saved and made it work and built something. By the way, I'll say this. Those immigrants we want all day long. Come here legally, work your ass off. But the rest of this, give me a break. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast What's Right Show, wherever you get your podcasts. Click to subscribe, get all the updates. I'll see you tomorrow.